lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and with me again is another awesome guest. Today, we're going to be talking with Chris Anderson, who, behind you, I can see all the stuff you've done. You brought me a bunch of dope shit to read. You came and stopped at the shop, and I'm down to talk, dude. So welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
I like to find out how people, how they got into comic books as a kid, and then in turn how that led to you wanting to become a cartoonist yourself.
Sure.
But do you remember like that first comic book that like really just like sparked it all for you?
No, I don't remember the first comic book. I mean, I have a few first comic books that kind of sparked it for me.
Right.
I remember like finding them at my aunt's cabin, like under a bed, like the like Buscema Thor runs under there and stuff like that, and get like really like focusing in on them then. And then my dad was like really into Will Eisner and things like that. He grew up on that stuff, and it was kind of like always in the back of my mind, oh, comics are cool. I had much older brothers, and they had a box of them too, so I'd always find those. Like the first Swamp Thing was in that box, and like all kinds of crazy stuff I found later. But it was probably the media blitz of Batman '89 that hooked me and got me into it, and then I started collecting Batman comics after that. I think the first Batman comic I owned was a Mark Waid one with Batman over the Ku Klux Klan on the cover. It was like an annual.
Okay.
So I remember that as being the first one that I owned myself.
Nice.
Probably a few Batman ones at the time.
Yeah, nice. I don't even think like for me, my mom just bought me comics. Like nobody, like I was an only child for like the first 11 years of my life. So like I kind of introduced my little brother, but yeah, it's biggest Flash 82 of the Mark Waid run was my first comic book, and then I just kind of had to discover on my own, but it probably started more with like the movies as well and the TV shows. But when did you decide that you wanted to become an artist yourself? Like when did it become something more than just like you did it read it for enjoyment and then wanted to create?
I always drew, and I always told stories, and I think that when I got into comics, that was like '89. So right after that, '90, you started having people like Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee and people like that were really like hitting it hard at Marvel, and those styles just drew me in, and I just started copying everything and drawing and started making my own comics, and that's when I just kind of knew like in my bones that that's what I was going to do eventually with my life. I took a huge detour for a long time, but I always knew that I was going to come back to comics, and that comics is what I was going to do for a living, and I was going to be a comic book artist and writer. I just knew it. It's one of those things.
Yeah, dude. What was your first published work?
My first published work was that's a good. Oh, you know what? I was in an anthology I did for there was a podcast called Wormwood, Serialized Mystery, that my friend David Campo and Jeremy Rogers they wrote this podcast in like early days of podcasting, and it still has like a huge fan base. And they did a comic book based on it, and then they did like a special where they had a couple other artists come in and do it. So I did an issue of that, and that got published through Hermes Press, I think.
Okay.
May have been only digitally, but that was my first published work. And then after that, I went right on to Los Angeles. Right after that.
Dude, Los Angeles is dope. I like
Thanks,
it.
Man. Yeah, that's when I was like, you know what, you're getting old, man. You gotta if you're gonna do this, you gotta do this. So I started hitting it pretty hard with that, and I was still teaching. I was a teacher, and I was still teaching when I drew that. So like when the kids would take naps because they were very young, I taught preschool at the end of my teaching days, and while they would take naps, I would be drawing pages.
That's awesome. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
So let's talk Los Angeles. I really, really dug the book. I thought it was really dope. I like the
Thanks,
concept
man.
of, like this fucking massive city dropping down and destroying the city beneath it. And then I even like the quote on the cover. It's like Neil Gaiman re-scripting the Breakfast Club. I thought that like right off the bat before I opened it, I was like, I was all in. I want to know though. I mean, you team up with David Acampo for
Yeah.
multiple projects, right? Like all the
Yeah.
shots that are behind you. Um, how did you guys come up with this concept together? Like, can you talk a little bit about that project and how it came about?
Yeah, he came up with the basic premise of it. He had it pretty fleshed out. He's such a great writer. He has such great concepts, and he's always got a way of telling you one story when it really means another thing.
Mhm.
Um, and he came to me with that, and then I started doing sketching and a lot of things and try to just build the world, the visuals of the world. And as I was doing that, we were coming up with other ideas for the story. So it sort of built up from that. So that's why in the book we don't say writer and artist, we just say creators, because
Mhm.
we kind of really came up with it all together. But yeah, Dave came up with the initial concept and he scripted it and he lettered it and he did the design for the book. He's a graphic designer by trade. So, and then I just, I drew and came up with some concepts for the story as well. And yeah, designed it and we kicked out like 5 issues worth. They were like available free at first.
Mhm.
And then we kickstarted it through our publisher Comiker at the time and was successful with that and just went from there. Everything started snowballing after that.
Yeah, dude. But before we like lead into more stuff, could you just
Yeah.
quick elevator pitch for anybody that wants to like kind of know more about the project and kind of like entice them to kind of pick up the book because I hadn't heard of it until you shared it with me myself. So
Yeah, it doesn't have like wide distribution, unfortunately. You can get it on Amazon, but or my website. But yeah, so the premise of Lost Angels is that there is a ship that's a city, and it crash lands in Santa Monica, California, and destroys it. And then what the aliens that come out of it are they look like angels. And so there's this whole question of are they angels, aren't they angels? Now there's a new immigrant population in Los Angeles. How do we deal with that? How do the religious people deal with that? How do people who aren't religious deal with that? Um, and we skip forward a few years after the crash, and they're starting to integrate people into the city. They haven't let the angels out, but people are starting to come in, and they build a high school in there, an integrated high school, and a police force. And this girl, Alex Martinez, and her mom and her grandma move into the city. Her mom is a police officer, and she goes to the school, and there's a death at the school, and Alex is kind of the only one who can get to the bottom of what happens, how the kid
Mhm.
died, because the angels don't really like her, and the
Yeah.
human kids don't really like her because she's weird, and she actually lives in the city. The other kids are like bust in, and so she's kind of like a ghost. No one pays attention to her, so she's able to kind of get to the bottom of this mystery and solve it in the end. It's entirely self-contained, although there's another run that we did digitally after it.
Okay. Are you guys gonna collect that?
I think so. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that we will.
All
The
right.
the book actually got optioned for a TV
Oh,
show.
nice. Okay.
So we're in the process of all of that right now. So we're probably looking for another publisher to distribute it wider than it is right now.
Mhm.
And I imagine that we'll also publish volume 2. And we want to do more volumes of it too. So
Oh, dude, I'm very, very stoked to hear that.
yeah.
And what I found interesting too is like the other stuff that you did with David are these horror one shots.
Yeah.
Interesting format, like because they're not like super long. They're just like
hmm
little like chunks of stuff.
12 pages. Yeah.
Yeah, what was the idea behind releasing little shorts like that? I mean, you don't see stuff like that, but they're cool because like you get the story, is boom, you're on to the next.
Yeah. It was a palate cleanser for Pages of Lost Angels at the beginning.
Okay.
I wanted to, draw something else in the meantime, and so we kind of came up with these short little stories, they each are spot colored with a different color. And we're going to work our way all the way through the spectrum. And then eventually we'll release them all in a collected uh, format, like a graphic novel format. I think we're going to call it spectral or something like that.
Well, that's cool.
So we go through every color, but it's just spot color. Like Devil Skin is only, the only color you see in it is red. Dollhouse is only orange.
Right, right.
Is only yellow. Witch Heart is only green.
Green. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting concept, dude. I really dug that. And it's cool because like I noticed like, okay, so Los Angeles is 2015, and then these are 2019, 2020, I believe. I saw
Kind of, yeah, maybe. Well, published. Yeah.
published. That's what I meant.
I did Devil Skin much earlier than that.
Okay. But I can I've noticed like just from like those all the way up to this, which I got from your Patreon.
Yeah.
Just like the growth that you have as an artist and your style is continuing to be a little bit more refined. I'm really digging. Like I really dug this too. I think it's really dope. I mean, I like Masters of the Universe, but what was the idea behind this little one shot that you released?
So during the pandemic, I was working on a long project that ended up being this one right here, called Spicy Bricey.
Right.
And Daddy Big Daddy. It's a book that the author came to me. He lost his son who had a disability, and he passed away in 2019. And a way of grieving was to write this graphic novel, and he hired me to draw it. And it took like 8 or 9 months to draw, like 120 pages or something like that. And so in between that, I kind of had to keep doing something for my Patreon followers. And so I just did like a page a day for a while. In the morning as a warm up, I'd do like 2 hours at a time. And I really only spent about 4 hours on each page. I drew them really small and I just kind of busted them out. And I picked a Masters of the Universe character to tell the story of, because I just loved playing with my He-Man guys when I was a kid. It's such a great sandbox. They threw all continuity out. And don't mention any names of any characters just in case Mattel comes sniffing around, you know.
Yeah.
And so, I just came up with this short story. Really wanted to tell it, and I busted it out in like 2 weeks, maybe, and printed it up, and I give it out on my Patreon.
Yeah, fucking another dope project. I want to talk about the Spicy Bricey though. It is a very like heavy themed, you know.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm a dad, so like it kind of pulled on those heartstrings a little bit for me. For you, like illustrating this, that experience, like for you, like having, like you're drawing something that is directly related to some like strong grieving, some strong grief. You know what I mean? Like this guy's going through his grieving process, and this is kind of the outcome of that. So, what was the experience like for you doing this project?
It was really tough. I didn't know Bryce. Adam Delinko, who wrote it, he lives up in San Francisco, and I met him one time because he was a professor at USC. He'd fly in every once in a while to teach there. So we met before the pandemic, and I got to know him a little bit. But it was tough. I mean, I really felt like I got to know this kid a lot while I was working on the book, and I have reference videos of him and photos of him and the family during better times and not good times too. I mean, obviously he, not to give away the ending, but he passes away in the end. And so there's like photo reference and stuff for that. It was really hard to look at, but not nearly as hard as it was for the family to have to go through that. But I think that that it also, besides being a sad story, it's like a really happy story about this kid who was just like, he had special needs, and he was a kid with special needs, and he was happy, and everybody loved him, and he touched every life that he came across. And I just think it tells like a fantastic, arc of this kid's life.
Yeah.
And I hope that more people get to read it. We're kind of looking for a way to publish it right now. We just printed this up for ourselves. We're not, really selling it or anything yet, but I really hope that it gets wider distribution. I think it's a great story, and a lot of people, even kids, young readers, should read it.
No, definitely. No, I definitely agree. I think it's a special kind of project, and what was What was the family's reaction when were you giving them page by page, or did you only turn it in like to them when you were finished?
So I was working with Adam, and he had a writer partner on it, Millie. She handled a lot of the writing when he couldn't emotionally deal with it and had to kind of step away sometimes. And the rest of the family didn't know that the book was happening. So he gave it to them as a Christmas present last year. I had finished
Oh wow.
in November, and we had it printed by December to give it to them, and they, obviously they loved it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a unique thing to open.
It's a unique project, so it's not
Yeah.
that you see every day. And yeah,
Right.
I really hope that this gets wider distribution, because I think it's unique and an important type of book that we don't see enough of in terms of comics.
Yeah, we're reaching out to publishers right now, and we're really, really hoping that it lands somewhere because, like you said, it is pretty unique, and I think that publishers would love to add it to their lineup. So we'll see.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I wish you guys nothing but the best with this project. I want to talk, like you talked about, you were worried about Mattel, and that's why you didn't use names. You were on another project that I'm sure a lot of people were worried about. A ton of people coming, and that's this bad boy right here.
That's right.
Image
Grand
design.
Design and Image Grand Disaster.
That's right.
Yeah.
What a special project. I've talked to countless people that have been on the project. I have countless people lined up to continue to talk, and I love asking each and every one of you guys what your experience was like on this project, because it truly is a testament to the love and passion for comic books that all of you have. It's probably my favorite thing that's come out this year,
Yeah.
by far.
Getting a lot of hype.
It's getting a lot of hype. I mean, you saw the section I created at the shop I work at. I don't know if they've done it at the shop you shop at, because you shop at our North Hollywood location, which I wasn't aware of until we talked. But yeah, what was your experience like on this project? I want to hear it from you, and in turn, seeing this response to it, has been insane. Like, I've told everybody that I've talked to, like, getting calls at our shop before we had a copy at the shop, like,
Yeah.
people from Canada, people from Chicago, everywhere.
Yeah.
I just want to hear your experience, and then, like, in turn, what has it been like for you to see this reception for it?
It's been great. I came onto the project kind of early-ish, not super early, but when everybody was kind of had a meeting together and get together to kind of figure out what they were all going to do. I was working on Spicy Bricey at the time, and I didn't have a lot of time to devote to writing and a lot of brain power to throw into there. So I kind of said, here's the deal. Anything that needs to be done, I will do it. I will just like be the guy who helps you get it over the edge. If you need something colored, if you need something this, that, whatever, I will do it in my spare time. And the first thing that I did was, when we met, I went to, in 1992, I went to the Chicago Comic-Con, and I met like all the creators right at the launch. I got a picture of myself and Todd McFarlane right over here.
I'm so jealous. So jealous.
Yeah, and I got this shirt signed by all of them. I still have it in my closet. And they did a jam piece for the cover of the program that year, and so I redrew that jam piece just in my own style, and it's the inside front cover of Grand Design. And so I wanted to, since they had the concept that Design was going to be one side, and then it was going to be a flip book to do Disaster. Disaster has to do with there's a lot of zombies and other things going on in Disaster. So I wanted it to reflect the other side. So I did that same drawing, but I turned them all into zombies. Yeah. And then I ended up doing the cover, like a threefold, not a threefold, but like a triptych cover for Grand Disaster. So I did the front, and then a reaction on the inside, and then the zombies coming forward for that. And so Jerome Cabanatan had drawn this like insane fight sequence for the Savage Dragon and Spawn, and they asked me to ink it. And so I said, yeah, absolutely. And I got the pages, and I just kind of like added. I didn't go exactly off of his layouts. I mean, pretty close. I didn't draw right directly over them. I just kind of transcribed them over and drew them in my style. And that's what ended up being the final fight for Grand Design. And then I did like 2 other fill-in pages for Grand Design, and then I did the last page and the 3 pages of the cover, and like 2 other pages for Disaster. So I ended up doing like quite a bit, and I colored some pages too. Yeah,
you did a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, like I said, like this fucking book is.
It's crazy. It's like
It's so.
It reminds
dope.
me of like Liquid Television with all the crazy styles. You know,
Yeah.
like.
I mean, this is a book that easily should be published at Image. Like I don't why this book couldn't be. You know, I mean, I get it. Yeah, I mean, especially because like some of these characters aren't even at Image anymore.
Right.
And so I get that, but like I think it's just it's amazing that you guys were all able to come together in the shitty year that was 2020 and create something so fucking dope out of it.
Yeah, I didn't get to be in the bullpen as much as I wanted to. I think I only made it in there one time because I was drawing during the day, and by the time they all met, I was just wiped. You know. So,
yeah.
But man, I made so many friends with these guys off of this, and new fans. Like it quadrupled easily my fan base.
Yeah,
which is great.
I mean, yeah, everybody I'm talking to, like, especially when Ed and Jim put that fucking video up, going through the credits, like people's followers went up, people, all everything across the board, sales and stuff like that. And then I think I also happened with the recent mailbag episode. A few people get shout outs on their stuff went up as well. So I think it's really cool what the Kayfabe channel, what it has turned into is so much more than just a YouTube channel that talks about comic books that are dope and creators. It's created the group, which in turn has created this like brotherhood of not just fellow cartoonists, but like fans like myself, and just inspiring so much creativity across the board. And I think it
really has. Yeah, it's been great. It's great to see. It's very unique. I've never seen anything like this happen before.
Yeah, I mean, it's just positivity. Like there's no negative bullshit. And it's pretty dope. It's inspiring. Like I don't create comics. I've always wanted to, but I can't draw. Like I think I drew when I was younger, but I just stopped for whatever reason. I really don't know where it ended. But I know there's a lot of other projects coming out in the group. I put my name on a sign-up sheet for I think the next one that they're doing. Are you a part of any of these projects moving forward?
I'm going to be a part of one that they haven't announced yet. Okay. Yeah, and then Rocco Jerome is putting together a book, and part of one of the stories that we worked on from it's going to be in the new Wizard magazine, #2. Nice. And I did a cover for a Cosmic Lion comic that's coming out, and yeah. Oh, and the Weapon Ek one too. I did a couple pages for that. Yeah.
Nice.
Where everybody kind of reimagines it takes a close study of Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X. That was interesting. I had never read Weapon X when I did it. In fact, I
really?
Read it I read it last week.
Oh wow, okay. Nice.
For the first time, because I just read Monsters. I'm a different cartoonist after reading that. And so I wanted to dive in and read more Barry Windsor Smith, but I don't think anything holds a candle to that.
No, I mean that book is
special.
I had to put it down at times where like wasn't even tired, like because I'll usually read it at night, like when it's the house quiet and stuff, and I can really focus. And I was like, no, I need to step away from this for a minute because it's fucking heavy. Like that is a heavy book, and not in terms.
And it breathes.
But yeah,
you need to step away for a second.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, I can already see it winning countless awards this year.
That's
far and above. Yeah, it's far and above so much stuff that has been published, in the shops. Like, I mean, I try to recommend it. People are like, man, it's a fucking big book, like, so it's kind of sometimes a hard sell, but I think it's definitely everybody should read that book. It is a testament to like the greatness of Barry Windsor Smith.
It's on another level. Yeah.
Yeah.
In storytelling.
But
sure.
I do want to ask too, like, I see all the heavy metals behind you. The only one that I was, I was able to see was that Frazetta one. Because that one I bought because
Yeah.
I'm a huge Frazetta mark. So when I saw that cover at the shop, I got it before I even knew you were in the book. And you were like, yeah, I'm in the book. I was like, oh shit, okay, awesome, dude. So I want to ask, like, your heavy metal work, like, you are basically, I mean, you're cartooning full time, right? Like, that is your what you do. You don't have any other side jobs, which I think is awesome. Like, that's the dream that I think every fan that wants to do comic books eventually wants to be able to just work on their art or their writing or whatever it is. But can you talk about how the heavy metal gig? How did you land that?
The heavy metal gig happened when I became friends with Tim Seeley, who created Hack Slash and Revival. He's an editor over at Heavy Metal. And one day I woke up and there was an email saying, can you do a 12-page story for a Creep Show comic that we're putting out, and you've got like 6 or 8 days to do it. Go. I was like, oh yeah, of course I can do that. And then they gave me the script, and it was a TV script. They hadn't been able to make it into a comic script yet, and Greg Nicotero wrote it. I had to turn a 16-page television script into a 12-page comic script and draw those things in just like a few days. So it was it was a gauntlet. It was grueling. Yeah. But I did it, and it came out, and I got a chance to like sign with Greg at Comic-Con and stuff. That was really cool. And work on the Creep Show TV show too. I did like the drawings for the first season.
Nice.
On screen. And from that, Tim was like, man, I owe you one. You really knocked it out of the park. You turned that around so fast. Like, not many people could do that. And I was like, oh, thanks. He's like, I'm going to get you into an issue of Heavy Metal. And I was like, oh, that's fantastic. So he came around like a few months later with a script by Justin Jordan. And it was for like the winter special. 289, I think, was the issue number. And I had longer to work on that, so that was a lot of fun. I got to work with Justin on that, and then I said, well, is it okay if I just pitch my own stories? And he said, yeah, go for it. And so I've been pitching stories, and they haven't said no yet. So I awesome, just dude. Have been like having a lot of fun doing like my weird. I like weird stories with weird creatures and weird things, and that's perfect for heavy metal. So yeah, I've got 4 issues out now. 2 of them I wrote and drew myself, and then the last one that just came out like last week or 2 weeks ago was with my friend Perry Crow, who I've known for like 20 years, and I've been wanting to work with him for forever. So we finally got to work together on heavy metal.
That's awesome, dude. I mean, heavy metal is like, it's got such a gravitas to it, just the name alone. So to be able to land that gig, I'm sure must have been just like amazing for you.
Yeah, I just kind of like swooped into it. Yeah. It was just all sort of serendipity and happenstance, and that's the way things tend to work for me. Right place, right time, reached out to the right people.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's how a lot of stuff happens now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you can work hard at something, and not to say that you can't succeed that way, but I feel like more and more the stories I hear, it's like you were just in the right place at the right time, and just things fall in line.
Yeah, it's like I was asked on a podcast the other day, like, how did you get Lost Angels optioned for a television show? Did you put together a pitch, and did you have to go into meetings, and like, who did you have to talk to? And I said, well, what I did was I took my book and I put it in either Collector's Paradise or Golden Apple or some place around town, and a producer walked in and saw it and read it and called David and said, we want to make this. I didn't do anything. It just was chance,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I love hearing stories like that, man. I fucking love hearing stories like that. I know you got some heavy metal stuff. You showed me something, I think, before we hit the record button. You said you're working on a new project, new Kickstarter. Can we talk?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's done. We're getting ready to launch a Kickstarter for this book, Chaotic Neutral,
Oh yeah.
uh, and it's all black and white tones. I've had it done for like a couple years now. And the idea is that it is sort of this is the
So cool.
Dungeons and Dragons
Oh yeah.
that your grandma thought that you were playing in the basement.
Yeah.
Say the whole satanic panic and all that stuff. So we go full steam on this. Mark Sable wrote this.
Oh, I know Mark Sable. Okay.
Great guy, great writer. And he is a huge Dungeons and Dragons guy, and he actually writes some adventures and things like that. So he's writing a module that's going to go along with this. So it's not just the comic, it's also a module that you can play. And so we're going to kickstart that probably in June or July. So whenever this airs, it may be out. But if not, just like look up my socials and whatnot, and you'll be able to.
Because I saw.
So it's like a 48-page comic, and so we're going to just do it that way. We're going to release it that way right now because we want it to look like the old modules. So we want it to be saddle stitch. And if you go above like 52 pages, you can't do that. Okay. So we're going to release it like one comic at a time. Right now, we think maybe quarterly. I'm like maybe halfway done with the second issue. There were some issues getting the Kickstarter rolling for a long time and just things that were out of our hands. And so I drew this like quite a while ago. It's going to be interesting to see how the next issue looks because I'm a totally different guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, yeah, it's like I see the difference of like your art from Lost Angels to like Grand.
I try to grow, man. I
mean, it's dope. Time. Like you even like the disaster cover. There's like a touch of Matthew Allison. It looks like to that creature in the bottom right corner.
Could be.
I see a little bit of it. Maybe
I'm sure our influences cross.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to see what you got going. But you sent me some images of some stuff you were working on the other day.
Yeah.
What project is that from? Can you talk about it or no?
Not really.
Okay.
These are some of the pages.
Yeah. So dope, dude.
They're driving me crazy. There's a lot of books. It's for a pitch that David and I are working on. Okay. So we've sent a few pitches out, but this one is pretty special. It's hit us the way that it hit me the way that when he pitched Lost Angels to me hit me. I was like, this project is something's very special about this. This has got something. Not that the other ones that we came up with don't, but there's something extra about this one. So I'm really hoping that we find a place for it. I don't know. We'll see. I can handle 2 projects at a time, so.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, the art you sent me was fucking dope. So I'm definitely.
Yeah, I wanted to show you that. I was really excited about it.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome. What else? What else you got coming up that we can all be on the lookout for besides the upcoming Kickstarter?
Let's see. So I've got the Kickstarter. I'm going to be in an anthology. David wrote a story that I'm going to draw for an anthology called 21st Century Pulp. So that'll be kickstarted soon. I'm not sure exactly when. So if you follow my socials and stuff, you can keep an eye out for that. I did that story that I said was going to come out in Wizard with Rocco Jerome.
Right.
Right now, I think that's about it. I've got a pitch into heavy metal right now. Still waiting to see if that's going to go. And yeah, that's about it. Just doing my Patreon and doing these pages and trying to get some stuff out there. I'm trying to, get the next book ready.
All right, man.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah, I'm excited to see all of it. Before we get out of here, though, I always like to get some recs. What books have you read recently? Creators have you discovered recently, or even creators that you didn't discover recently but are just fan of that you can recommend?
Yeah. So I've gotten these books by I followed David Moses' Patreon. Yes. Have you checked these out?
I love David Moses. He's awesome.
Yeah, man. These little like EC comics like stories. They're really cool. So if you want to get your copy, go check out David Moses' Patreon. It's awesome. There's a book that's coming out. I think it's just in previews right now. But this Stud and the Bloodblade book,
What? I haven't heard of that
yeah,
one.
you should
Okay.
check this out. So Perry Crow, the guy who wrote the last heavy metal story with me, wrote this, and Jed Doherty is the artist on this. He's doing a book with Aubrey Sitterson right now that's coming out
Right.
from Dark Horse. And yeah, this is in previews right now. It's like a He-Man-esque kind of book. It's really awesome. You should check that out. Ultra Mega, obviously.
Oh, book issue 3 was fucking so
This
crazy.
hasn't left my drawing board.
Yeah, it's so
I
good.
just have to keep looking at it. I love everything that Daniel Warren Johnson's putting out. He's insane.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
So much energy in that stuff.
Orphan of the Five
Orphan
Beasts.
of the Five Beasts.
I was gonna ask you too. I was gonna ask you if that was over there too. That book is fucking crazy.
So much energy.
Yeah,
So much
dude.
energy. I've been looking at this a lot lately. I had to get it from Japan. Lampo the Hypersonic Boy. Have you ever checked this out?
I've never heard of it.
Daniel Warren Johnson pointed me to it, and it's one of the this is a book that has just like, can't find a good page to show you. It's speaking of energy, it's got so much energy in it. Anyway, if you haven't, I forget, you gotta flip it the other way. If you ever get a chance to take a look at this or find it anywhere, do it. I mean, I ordered it from Japan, so it wasn't cheap. I got it. There's like a set of 4, but it was amazing. My wife was like, how you can't even read that? Like, what good is that? I was like, I can read it. I can understand what's going on, which means it's a good comic.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
For sure,
Like, we
dude.
need to
Yeah.
read it. And then like I just love to like find like European tomes. There's like a local bookstore that just has like a ton of these for like $10 each, and the art in
Okay.
them is just like ridiculous. Again, I can't read it, but I don't care. I mean, like, look at that. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's dope.
So I just like to look for inspiring things. So that's kind of what I've been checking out lately. And go read Monsters.
Yeah,
It's mandatory, all of you.
I agree. It's something else. It's unlike anything that I've read in a very, very long time. So
I can't speak highly enough of it.
yeah, I mean, I constantly tell people I'm trying to sell out of what we have. I keep telling them, I'm like, it's on back order right now. So if you don't get it now, there's no guarantee when you're going to get a copy because
Right.
the response has been insane. All right, man. Well, I mean, I definitely want to go check those out. I loved your work. Thank you again for sharing it with me. And I hope
Thanks, man.
listening, go pick up his stuff. And for everybody that's watching and listening, where can we find your stuff, your Patreon, all the links and stuff? And then I'm also going to drop it down below.
Great. Yeah, everything is pretty much Chris Anderson Comics. So chrisandersoncomics.com is where I have an online store. I have a lot of original art for sale, commissions. Most of my comics are available on there. And my Patreon is also patreon.com/Chris Anderson Comics. Sign up for that, and I'll send you my Not He-Man story and also my Not He-Man sketchbook.
Oh, nice. Cool.
And my Instagram is also at Chris Anderson Comics. So it's pretty easy. Chris Anderson Comics all the way down.
All right, cool, man. Well, thank you again. I'm going to drop those links down for everybody that's listening or watching whatever platform you're listening to this on. And dude, we gotta talk again when we can talk more about those projects that you're working.
Yeah, I'd love to. It'd be great.
All right, cool, man. Well, thanks, and talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you soon.